Hey, I'm going to show you a little bit of how to go about drawing up a simple truss structure in Adobe Illustrator for laser cutting. Firstly, I would advise that you go to Window and find your different tools like Pathfinder and Align. Make sure those tools are open. I've got them open over here. Also note that I specifically do not have a grid on here, and I don't have like snapping to grid and things like that. What I do like to make use of is the anchor points around lines and shapes. So you'll notice that I used some stuff like that. This is basically what we're going to be doing, a simple, very simple Warren truss. And I'm going to show you two different ways. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is using one-dimensional lines, and the truss that I'm going to draw is going to be sort of in 50mm increments. So I'm going to have a line like that that's 100mm long, and I'm also going to have a line that's 50mm long. They're both being drawn at 0 degrees, so they're straight like that. Now, good engineering students would probably go and work out what the perpendicular height of an equilateral triangle that's 50mm at the base is, and then you can select those two, come over to align to key object, and you can tell it that you want it to be however many millimeters apart. I'm not 100% sure what that perpendicular height is, so I'm going to just cheat a little bit by using a polygon tool to draw a triangle like so. I'm just going to spin that around, and I'm going to adjust the size of it to match and get that pretty close. Okay, and I'm going to call that exactly where I want it. Okay, so I've got those two lines set now. If I want to really make sure that they are in line with each other, I can come over here to align the centers. Then I'm basically going to use my line tool to see how I'm snapping to the anchor point there. That's important. Anchor point, and I'm going to come over to find the middle, and like so. All right, so these are all one-dimensional lines. If we were to laser cut these, they would pop out as triangles, which we don't want. So I'm going to show you a neat little trick here. Use the black selection tool, and I'm going to select all of these lines. Go to Object, Path, and Offset Path. Now in this case, I want to offset them an equal distance, so I might go 2.5mm rather than 5. And that should give me a 5mm thickness. So it's offsetting 2.5mm on each side. Now, rather than miter, I'm going to change this to round, okay, and see how my corner joins all look really nice now. So at the moment, I've actually got, if you want to isolate that, a paddle pop stick looking shape like that, as well as an individual line. I'm just going to use my black selection tool to select it all now, Pathfinder tools, and Unite. Ta-da, we're done. Okay, so that's a really simple way of doing a simple truss structure. I like this method because you can map things out nicely with just individual vector lines, exactly how you want them to start with, which is probably how you will have sketched something on paper. And then you can get the line, the member thickness fairly well using that offset tool. Another way that you might do it, you've all heard the expression about there being more than one way to skin a cat. I'm not going to do things with any particular precision in this case. So I've drawn a triangle here. I'm going to again go path, offset path. This time I'm going to go 5, except I'm actually going to make it -5 so that I'm going internal. And I'm going to change that back to miter, so I want them to be pointy corners rather than the rounds. Now at the moment I've got two separate shapes here. The smaller triangle, because I did it after the bigger triangle, is sitting on top. So what I can do is I can use the minus front option, and now they are one. Now please take note that that is different to grouping. I've now created a shape that's kind of like a donut. Another option would have been to use the exclude tool. It would have done the same thing. All right, now that I've got that, I can copy and paste. In this case, because I want to line these up perfectly where I want, so I'm just going to bottom align them there. And I'm going to use the line tool. I'm just going to change a color here so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm just going to drop a line down here as sort of a reference line, if you like. And I will now move this across, keeping that in line. And I want to stop that there. Delete that one. I know that that's where I want them. You can work out the maths on how much you want to offset them by or whatever you like. And just like I did before, I'm going to unite them. Now this time, I'm just drawing a straight line across. Okay. Now, actually, I'll do it differently. I'll draw a rectangle from point to point. Note that I'm going to the inside triangle there, and I'm just going to then delete that. Why am I deleting that? Because now I have the length or the width of the line that I want. Tab, and I'm going to change that to 5 millimeters. Now that should be the perfect size that I want. I can intersect those corner points, okay, and just like I've done before, I can unite them. We've got these pointy bits now that we don't really want. Easy to get rid of those. Draw a square, select both, minus front, draw a square, select both, minus front, and we're done. So the advantage of this is that we end up with squarer corners. Doesn't really matter. It's probably a little bit trickier to get exactly the right size you want, but you can see that we've got a pretty similar result. So two different ways of drawing a very simple truss structure in Adobe Illustrator.